Good evening, and if you're watching this on digital television, our player cam will be following Ian Hislop for the next 20 minutes. In the news that's quite long enough, thank you. In the news this week, halfway through the first recording, TV producers discover one major drawback with the format of champagne breakfast with frost. In the Beijing branch of Tesco, there are fears that hygiene standards may have slipped in the salad section. And after a tragic accident, plastic surgeons reveal the implant that will enable Robin Cook to live a full life again. On Ian Hislop's team is a journalist and novelist who's currently following Lady Thatcher on the campaign trail, so that's 2 elections in a row that he's been chasing the dragon. Will Self. And with Paul Merton tonight is Peter Mandelson's former spin doctor, who claims to have taught Mr. Mandelson everything he denies knowing, Derek Draper. Round 1 fills the gap between now and when I announce the scores as being 2-all. Paul and Derek, what's new?
Oh, that's Tony Blair.
And this was, that you got to ring up Tony Blair and speak to him.
That's your former boss.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's John Prescott. Responding to a field protester.
So what's Blair been complaining about this week?
Well, hasn't he said that he doesn't agree with the cult of personality? I think he said this during his 5-minute fawning mini-movie that was made about him.
Yes, which starred 2 other people for 5 seconds.
I think Gordon Brown was in it for about less than 5 seconds, I think, and David Blunkett was in it as well, briefly.
Yes.
Which tells you a lot about what's going to happen after the election, I think.
Which is what exactly, Derek?
If you want to get serious, David Blunkett and Gordon Brown will be vying to be the next leader of the Labour Party. I think they're the 2 people that are likely to...
I thought Leo was going to be the next leader.
Are they leaving out Ewan and Nikki?
Yeah, they're a liability.
Well, Ewan's just been made vice head boy at his school.
Head boy or vice?
David Blunkett has been tipped for Home Secretary, in fact, in The Sun, who claimed to know. And who did they tip as being the next Education Secretary?
Lulu.
So the edition that I had saying it was Estelle Morris, that was...
That's completely wrong. Because David Yelland, who's the editor of The Sun, he really loves Lulu.
He's very fond of Lulu.
He's got all her records, all her 45s, and really wanted to see her in power.
Right.
Where'd you buy your clothes, Lulu? Do you remember that advert?
Yeah, fantastic.
Freeman Catalogues.
Freeman Catalogues, yes. Rather sadly, I do remember that.
Where'd you buy your clothes, Paul?
That might have gone better, mightn't it? We are on the same side.
I know, I forgot you were.
You are Paul McCartney, aren't you?
Well, Estelle Morris is, yes, the one woman who's been allowed to take part in the new Labour election campaign.
What about Mrs Thatcher? She's a great boon to the new Labour election campaign.
50,000 votes an appearance, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just bring her on.
Right. 50,000 volts would be more like. The mummy returns.
You confirmed last week, of course, that there was indeed a pact between Blair and Brown, is that right?
I did, yeah, and Tony Blair said it was his word against mine.
Do you think he said to Gordon, I'll let you take over, and had his fingers crossed the whole time?
Under the table.
So did you have to break the news to Gordon Brown that he wasn't going to be the leader?
Well, yeah, I did say in this article that I went in to see Gordon to tell him that I thought everyone wanted Tony, basically, and he wouldn't really speak to me, and he was jabbing a pencil on the desk, and in the end the pencil flew out of his hand and almost hit me in the face.
He obviously still has a slight problem with pen control, as we can see from the press conference the other day.
I suppose we're lucky he's got a pen and there's a desk in the way.
So what mature and intelligent poster campaign did they come up with this week?
Oh, this was because they're not getting involved in personalities, so they attacked Hague.
They put Margaret Thatcher's hair on William Hague's head. No.
And the joke was that Hague is Thatcher's heir, you see. But I mean, it was Blair who had her to tea. It's Blair who wants to privatise the health service. I mean, Blair is Thatcher's man, really. She never liked Hague.
I was totally flummoxed by this. I thought it meant that there's a dangerous sort of hunter of female impersonators who take control of the country. It really had me running scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Lib Dems who first came up with the idea. They came up with Prescott in Anne Widdecombe's wig.
That's just Anne Widdecombe.
Yes, we should point out that was just a draft, and the Liberal Democrats decided not to put that poster out. Earlier this week, the Labour Party unveiled a poster depicting William Hague with Margaret Thatcher's hair. Tony Blair approved the photograph, Gordon Brown approved the photograph, and Robin Cook asked who she was and if anyone had her phone number. On Monday, Ewan Blair was out in his father's constituency of Sedgefield, where he spent all day stopping people in the street saying, "I bloody love you, you're my best mate, you are." Ian and Will, poles apart.
That's him.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him.
Oh, he's happy, isn't he?
That's her giving somebody a bit of a handbagging there.
Mr. Nice Guy.
That's tinned liberalism.
And that's someone with an even sillier hat on than Kennedy's one.
Yeah, we know who all those people are.
Excellent.
Hague's been losing, largely.
Yeah, he's had a good week losing. He's really
Yep.
pushed it forward, the loss.
Yeah.
And he's taking it bravely.
Well, it's a dream come true for him, isn't it? You know, William Hague, to be campaigning as leader of the Conservative Party in general election. He thinks it's fantastic. I mean, when he was 15 years old, it's the sort of thing that kept him awake at night.
Yeah.
It's like a boy who has a train set driving the Flying Scotsman.
He's been given a train set that doesn't work. It's just sort of less fun, really.
I don't.
Portillo's dancing with pleasure there.
he
Can't
does-
believe his luck. We're going to lose.
No.
Hague's campaigning week has been all about how, you know, he's been campaigning on this idea of keep the pound, keep the pound, keep the pound, keep the pound, and then...
Well, Paxman gave him a very bad time because he said, I won't say never.
Yeah.
We'll never abolish it. We won't in the next Parliament.
I have to say, I think Mrs Thatcher
By being
didn't she
derailed.
contradict the whole thing that they were saying, that she did say never, so that threw them into a tailspin.
She said never at a rally in Plymouth, which I attended.
Yeah.
And I can say that she is an electrifying speaker, and that when I got really near to her, she actually recharged my Philips portable razor. Wave it in her general direction, and it instantly kicked into life. And she did say at that speech that it was a case of never. And, you know, she's fond of calling a spade and then shoving it into the head who was standing near her. And then we come on to Charles Kennedy. That is, in fact, a picture of Charles Kennedy, who is very phobic about blood. But this week he scrubbed up for an operation and donned that costume. And in the jar is the appendix of the man who he watched having an appendectomy.
That's right.
I thought it was a pastry factory.
No, that is an operating.
Well, you never know what goes into these pies, do you?
That is an operating theatre. So I think Kennedy had a good week because he overcame his fear of blood.
Yeah.
He also came ahead of Hague in a certain poll. Nicest arse poll.
Oh, yes, it is.
It was National Bottom Week, that's why it was commissioned, that poll.
It's
You
only
obviously weren't aware
National
of this.
Bottom Week if some idiot says it is.
Well, Angus just said it was, so there we go. It's National Bottom Week.
And there was also a survey of political cliches. Did you read that? Which?
Is that the Basil Fawlty?
No, that was something that all three political leaders agreed on, was their favourite TV
Not to
category.
mention the war. I thought it was that Stern piece, because a German magazine ran a huge piece saying Britain was washed up. Third rate, third world, racist, xenophobic. Crowds.
No, there was a survey of political cliches. Top of the list is the fact of the matter is, apparently, which has been used 740 times by politicians over the last 4 months.
Oh, that's right, and Blair always says, what I'm telling you is,
No, and
before he tells you it.
That's right, and he also says, I say to you, as if, you know, you've somehow fallen under the table. Right? Who was that? Yeah.
But the great criticism of Blair was that he doesn't use enough verbs.
Well, by definition, a verb is doing something, which,
Yeah.
which New Labour are going to do.
Yes, these are the final days, not to say throes, of the opposition's campaign. It was revealed this week that more young people will vote for Big Brother than in the general election. So in a desperate attempt to boost interest, the next Tory election broadcast features Anne Widdecombe accidentally letting her towel slip as she comes out of the shower. So at the end of that round, the scores are like a supermodel's stomach, level with nothing in it, being as they are 2 points apiece. Round 2 features everything that's good about tabloid journalism and is therefore our shortest round. 2 first-class examples of second-rate wit, Ian and Will. The brother of all battles.
I think this is a face-off between two reality television shows, one of which features some men in a packing factory who have been accidentally nailed into a crate full of Marmite. That's called Are They Marmite in There? And the other features some women who are trapped in the stall of a toilet. And that's called Stalling for Time. And it's
I hope you copyrighted both of those ideas.
I did. Yeah. Am I right about that? Big Brother versus Survival, Battle of it.
But they haven't got it into the title, have they? The brother of all survivors, it should be, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, God, you've missed a vocation there. I mean, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon.
They shot themselves in the foot with the... Because I think it's one of those things where it's people... Last time when it was first on, Big Brother, people were very excited about it. But then when they did Celebrity Big Brother, that was much better.
Yeah,
much better. When you got Vanessa Feltz and Jack Dee, and Anthea Turn, that was much more interesting than these people you don't know anything about them.
This is a serious point you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. For the first time in 11 years. Big Brother, Lulu, the Archbishop of Canterbury, George Best, Muhammad Ali, put them in there, see which one comes out at the end of it.
Right.
No food, they have to eat each other. My money's on Lulu. Can you see Lulu and the Archbishop of Canterbury saying, what's it all about, this God business? Well, it's all like this, Sitting in a little jacuzzi, it'd be fascinating stuff. He's copyrighted his idea, I'll copyright that one.
Right.
Yeah, but my reality TV shows feature real-ish people. Yours feature this completely fantasy idea you have about Lulu, that she's interested in theology. She's a hard-nosed politician, Paul.
No. There's a caring side to Lulu that you haven't seen. Softer.
But the future education minister apart, how have they spiced things up in
They
the
want to
Big
put
Brother
more
show?
sex in it. Well, they've chosen a lap dancer who's one of them, and then there's a gay air steward who's not very restrained, really.
Is there such a thing as gay air? Like Ryanair, the Irish company, gay air.
Or EasyJet.
And have you been reading about any of the other Big Brothers that will be going on across Europe?
No.
No.
Right.
No.
Would you like me to tell you about them?
Not much.
No. I have read that they have had sex on other European Big Brothers. Is that what you're looking for?
Well, I wasn't necessarily looking for it, Will.
You're implying that you found it.
I found it without looking, yes. In Portugal is where that happened. They were evicted.
How exciting for the Portuguese
And they were
audience.
evicted for having sex.
They were, yes. That's right.
Have we got a clip?
You were watched, weren't you, by the public for about 5 days? Weren't you part of an installation or something?
Yes, I was. There was a willy cam as well that watched me while I was part of this installation.
A willy cam?
A willy cam. A cam pointing at Will. You see,
Oh, I see. Right.
Your mind is really quite excessively prurient.
So how did it go, this installation? And
There was live writing. I had a big screen up behind me on the wall, and anything I typed on my laptop came up on this big screen. Highly creative stuff.
On the
It
screen.
was a novel in progress.
Yeah, it's a novel in progress.
That's very modern, isn't it?
Yes,
It was
is
very.
modern. Yeah.
So this is the battle of the reality TV shows, Big Brother on Channel 4 and the recently launched show Survivor on ITV, where a small group of people is whittled down to just one viewer. After just 1 week in the Big Brother house, the contestants are already reverting to type. Stuart, the company director, is organising everyone. Penny, the teacher, is lecturing everyone. And Brian, the air steward, is mincing up and down, pointing at the doors. Paul and Derek, your spin on this. Mascots, all the rage.
Isn't this people in costumes at football matches who fight each other, apparently?
Is that the players?
No, they're mascots. Indeed, clues in the question. But there's been a study which says that the suits make them so hot that they get rage attacks, and that is why they're having these fights.
I was again following the Tories, and they're being followed around by these guys dressed up as wombles who are from a trade union. And they were really, really hot. Boy, they were sweating, and it completely ruined the whole protest when great Uncle Bulgaria took off his head to reveal a really, really, really sweaty man inside. There they are, yeah.
These aren't the anarchist wombles.
No, nothing as exciting as anarchist wombles.
Oh, right.
These are trade union wombles.
Oh, right.
Do they do a full day, or is there a big tea break?
And do you know who else is trailing Haig? Krusty the Clown.
It's Krusty the Clown.
What, from The Simpsons?
Have you got a picture of him?
No, we haven't.
Well, we don't believe you.
So some of the examples of the mascot rage that you were talking about.
The fox pretended to urinate, if that's the BBC word, on the goalpost, and the dragon went over and punched him. That actually happened.
Well, it's the sort of thing that would enrage a dragon in the natural world. I mean, that's just playing with fire. A fox pretending to piss against a goalpost, the dragon just go. They breathe fire at the very sight of that.
Yeah, it's understandable.
It's like a goose impersonating a penguin. Hedgehogs can't stand it. Sperm whale miming to an Andy Williams record. Oh, Canadian geese, they hate it. That's why you can see a lot of fights between geese and sperm whales.
Just remind us where we can see that.
On the Discovery Channel.
So, Hartlepool's mascot, Derek, who's that?
Is it a monkey?
Is it a monkey?
It is a monkey,
They
yes.
famously hung a monkey in Hartlepool because they thought it was a French spy. It was quite a long time ago in Hartlepool's
1948.
defence.
And that was dreadful because the monkey had been running a small cafe for years with very good coffee.
Yes, he's a monkey called Angus. And Cyril the Swan. He didn't beat anyone up, he just got overexcited when Swansea scored. He was fined £1,000 for that and given a touchline ban.
Was he? A 10-foot swan can't celebrate a goal by his own team. What sort of country are we living in?
All of which sound and fury means at the end of this outburst, neither team's remotely in the lead, together as they are on 4. And so to our least but not last odd one out round, just one per team this week, Paul and Derek. Your surprise ending involves Jimi Hendrix, The Prodigy, Den Hegarty out of darts, and Peter Mandelson.
Den Hegarty of darts, he was the guy that used to do the bass parts, and I remember that bit, all that bit.
Prodigy had a song about voodoo.
Oh, well, Jimi Hendrix certainly had a song, but it was Voodoo
Did
Child.
he? Right,
Child,
okay.
Voodoo Child,
What
yeah,
is it about the
something
dance man?
Well, I don't know.
Possible, isn't it?
I mean,
but
I don't
Peter
know
Mandelson, and this sounds too fantastic to believe, I know, but did go to Brazil with his boyfriend and cast a voodoo spell on his arch enemy, Charlie Whelan. So presumably, the odd one out is Peter Mandelson because he doesn't sing about voodoo, he actually practices it.
Is the right answer.
What's the darts track?
That was called Voodoo Voodoo. It got to number 73 in 1979. That's why we're expecting you to remember it.
I did remember that.
How does it go?
Voodoo, voodoo. But they're obviously much lower than that. Voodoo, voodoo.
Yes.
The funniest thing was, it wasn't the fact that Peter...
I'll do the back.
Okay. It wasn't the fact that Peter Mandelson actually did this voodoo spell. The amazing thing was that he wrote a thank you letter to the voodoo witch doctor, which unsurprisingly was sold to the Mail on Sunday for a large amount of money. It was the moment when I realised that he'd actually gone completely bonkers, I have to say.
There we are.
That's fabulous.
I think the lyrics need touching up, but the backing is fantastic.
Yes.
Can we make a record, do you think?
Yeah, I think we could. We could do a charity record, yeah.
No, not a charity record.
Why don't you bring
We can make a fortune out of this.
Voodoo, voodoo.
That's so catchy. That's the third time I've sung it in a minute.
I don't want to break the band up, but I think you should bring Lulu in some capacity.
So this was the the witch doctor who spilt the beans about Peter Mandelson, wasn't it? Zizinho.
But the funny thing, I'm sure that if a witch doctor rang up the Mail on Sunday from Brazil and said, that Peter Mandelson's just been in my hut, you know, we've cut a chicken up, and even the Mail on Sunday would not have sort of printed it without verification. So it was only because this guy had a letter saying, dear witch doctor, thank you so much for spending the time. Sort of hoist by middle-class, bourgeois, sort of
It's like when you come out of church,
etiquette, isn't
Mandelson,
it?
thank you for the lovely service.
Thank you for strangling the chicken.
Voodoo, lovely.
And pouring his blood into a china bowl. Voodoo, voodoo.
Yes, and Hendrix, of course, Voodoo Child was number 1 in 1970. And why is his blue plaque in London slightly controversial?
It's next to one of Handel.
Yeah.
On the same street. Is it Brook Street?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that controversial?
I don't know.
It suggests
There's no evidence they actually met.
So I think Hendrix was a really enormously great musician.
Well, unlike Handel, you mean?
Well, what's he done lately?
Jimi Hendrix, who had a hit with Voodoo Child, was a legendary rock innovator who famously played guitar solos with his teeth and is credited with the introduction of both psychedelia and flossing to Britain. Ian and Will, your powerful figures belong to Britney Spears, Richard Littlejohn, Bill Clinton and Saddam Hussein.
Britney. Alistair Campbell's a big fan of Britney's, isn't he?
He got a message from her, though, didn't he?
Did he?
Yes, good luck message from Britney.
Did he? Oh,
Leave me alone or I'll call the police.
But this is novels. This is sort of Will's territory. Saddam Hussein has just written a novel.
He has.
Yes, so...
Saddam, novel.
Yeah,
Little
novel.
John,
On Hislop.
novel. Great novel. Profound novelist. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Little John.
Bill Clinton's the odd one out. He hasn't written a novel.
It's, yeah, hang on, before he jumps in and tries to claim
He went to the Hay on Wye Book Festival. That's why he's there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's not a novelist.
No, that's makes
He's the only one who hasn't written a
He
book,
hasn't
the
written a
others
novel.
all have.
Yes, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take Ian and Will's answer first,
No,
because
it's fair
it was their question.
You didn't do that last week.
No, but then I don't like you.
No. Even you in work.
Yeah. 10 years.
Little murmur went around the audience and said, yeah, he is actually.
Do you feel threatened by any of them?
I feel most threatened by Little John, frankly.
What, you feel more threatened by Little John than Saddam Hussein?
Oh, Richard Littlejohn lives in this country.
And he has a nuclear capability.
And what was the rumour about Saddam Hussein earlier this year?
He was a woman.
The other rumour.
That he was...
That he was dead.
Yes,
He was dead.
And that this man with a cigar was a double.
Yeah.
that's right.
But it's not important, really, is it?
Well, no, I mean, many prominent leaders of countries are, in fact, played by
Just
doubles and have
impersonators.
been dead for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite well known, for example, that Ariel Sharon is a cab driver from North East London.
I'm not going to the
Manny
Gaza Strip
Cohen.
this time of night.
Well known.
He never says anything.
Never says anything. And as for Hussein, I've never seen him in the same room as Anne Widdecombe.
No.
And I think they may be the same person.
Saddam Hussein has published a 160-page novel entitled Zabiba and the King. According to one Iraqi newspaper, the paperback has become every Iraqi's favourite read, or else. Britney Spears and her mother, Lynn, have recently completed work on their debut novel entitled A Mother's Gift, which was described in The Scotsman as the worst book ever written. A little harsh, but still the best quote they could find to put on the cover. Our last round is also sadly our fourth. A selection of cropped headlines hacked from the dailies, including many, some or fewer from this week's guest publication, the frighteningly genuine Rubber Stamp Madness. So, pray silence for. Home is where the what is.
Front door. Rubber stamp.
Is the right answer.
Had to be in the end, didn't it?
Next, trains cancelled because of what?
Sun.
Too much sun.
Hot rail.
Sun on the tracks.
Sun on the tracks is the right answer. Very good. Yes.
It's too hot now. The rails crack. They crack when it's too cold, they crack when it's too hot. They crack when it's a bit iffy.
I think they should have made them out of a more durable substance than blancmange. I think
It's all you could get after the war.
Next, Old MacDonald had a what?
A pyre?
Overstocked barbecue.
stamp.
It is, in fact, stamp.
A stamp.
Yes, here is Old MacDonald.
What's wrong with that horse? He's really small, isn't he? What? Unless she's a very big wife. Those cows are identical. There's no thought gone into this at all. Look at those two cows. They're both looking at exactly this. They can't both be fascinated by that small horse. Maybe they are. It's that nature thing, isn't it? You show a cow a small horse and they're transfixed.
I don't think it's intended to be a naturalistic picture. I think it's an allegory. I think you can tell
That's
that...
how long a cow would look at a small horse.
I think you can tell it's not naturalistic because of the size of the rubber stamps, actually, Paul. A detail which seems to have evaded
And the sun's
your
got a
grasp.
face, you're quite right. I haven't spotted that.
Yeah.
Yes. And lastly, what have been active over the past 10 years?
International rubber stamps.
More precisely?
International
foreign.
rubber stamps.
German stampers is the answer. And here is the winner of this year's national rubber stamp contest of Germany, entitled Tiger Gehege.
Oh, I just don't believe it.
Why have they decapitated that child? God! What sort of zoo is this? They've put the rhino behind the cage and they've stuck the kids right next to the tiger. Where's that woman got her fingers in her ears? Is the tiger singing? Is this an audition for Miss Marple lookalikes? It's eaten that child's body.
It's only the rhino that's in the enclosure, you see. The tiger is one of us. Very deep.
Well, I think that's a policy which, frankly, needs reviewing. I mean, that poor sod there who's only got a head. Ask him whether he thinks it's a good idea.
He probably wouldn't be able to answer. So
Well, you can sit here and up his back, pull his vote report. It's a very bad idea. I wish I'd never come to this, do.
Thank you.
Bloody tiger's bitten my ear. Woman said, "Oh, stop complaining. It's all right for you."
Which total carnage brings an end to tonight's savagery, in which this week's slaughtered cows are Paul and Derek with 9. This week's sacred cows are Ian and Will with 10.
Good.
And I leave you with news that on a whistle-stop tour of Britain, Bill Clinton admits that the meetings he attends these days are not quite as high-powered as they used to be. In London, the Borough of Kensington and Chelsea introduces stiff penalties for dogs caught fouling the footpath. And at a secret Labour Party hideaway, Keith Vaz, Peter Mandelson and Geoffrey Robinson look forward to the end of the election campaign. Good night.
And if your funny bone is still in need of a workout, you're in the right place. There's more topical news nonsense on the way in Have I Got 2000 for you? Next.